So real feel outside is 73 degrees. 73 degrees in March in Southeast Ohio. Most years we would be having snow right now. People have been mowing yards for about a week. So we had a mild winter, and we're having a lot of temperature swings. Now, what I'm looking for, okay, I think I found one. I'm looking for a board, okay? So we're gonna go close a gap. So while we're talking about that, something I can show you before that. So this is day 3 with 126 Cornish rock cross meat chicks. We'll just make this their summary video for today. So something we haven't talked about, since we set up a walk-in working brooder, any place that we have a 90-degree corner, or that is a place like they could get in behind, like in behind that can, any place we have something like that, we try to set a block, a barricade in. And like this barricade's here to keep the chicks from going back in there. So, and this one's here because we had this gap back here. We didn't want them going in. So we didn't think we had a gap back there at our carriage door, but we do. Okay, so we've got some shadow here, some bright light here. So the camera, and then my shadows get in the way. So I don't know how the camera will adjust, but so these birds are all, sitting over here. So, these chicks want to be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit ambient temperature. And so, real feel outdoors is 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So we've got our heat lamps for when the temperature dips, because it's going to be back down at like 40 overnight. And so, a lot of times when they're this age, rather than turning the lamps off, we'll leave them on. I think I might raise them a little bit though. But apparently where this chick got out is right here. So with this door, yeah. So actually, okay, so see where my fingers are? Right here. So that was enough room for that chick to go in behind that chicken wire, okay? So we're just gonna set a barrier board here, okay? And we're just gonna keep an eye on it, that it stays in place. Now, what I'll actually end up doing is probably swapping this out for a taller one, because they actually could jump up here and get back there and go between this panel, and this panel is semi-removable, so we don't have it like fastened way down, but we could screw it down if we needed to. But they could jump on here, get back here, and go behind there and still get out. And likewise, what that indicates too is then if they can get out, could something get in that could hurt them? So we need to deal with that. So at any rate, I don't think we'll have that problem, but we'll put a taller board there to block that up. So we need to block that up. But they're going to this corner because this door is open, and they go toward the light. So they have a pineal gland, in their skull. We do too. We have a pineal gland in our skull, but that perceives light, the pineal gland itself, not just by visually observing it from their eyes, but the pineal gland itself perceives light, and it attracts the chickens toward it. So at any rate, so I'd kind of mentioned about the temperature. So, it's kind of like we have to provide this supplemental heat in case these chickens decide they're cool, like if a cool breeze comes through or if the temperature dips. But you can plainly see, like we have all these birds over here, they're not uncomfortable at all. They're not concerned about it being 73 and having to have themselves under the heat lamps. Even these birds over here, they're not in direct sunlight, but they're very content and comfortable going toward the other part of the building. But as we see the temperature drop toward evening, all these birds are going to converge back under these heat lamps. okay? So I'm trying to zoom out. I'm not real good at it. So also the other thing that will help is when we close up these doors, okay, that evens up all the light in the barn, because then the only light is really the overhead normal light there. And then if you needed more intense light, you could actually use clear bulbs in your heat lamps, but we don't use, door's gonna bang. We don't, and that's gonna make some of them move around, but we don't use clear lamps, we use the red, okay? So anyway, so what things are we doing on day 3 days old with our chicks? We're just monitoring their behavior. We have filled the water, so they've got 7 gallons of water in here. It took them about the whole 3 days to drink the 7 gallons of water. All the waters weren't totally empty this afternoon, but they had just the water in the tray. The reservoir, like the holder itself, was down to the bottom to the tray. So so we filled 7 gallons of water. We've got 5 of these tray feeders in here now, and they had cleaned up all that feed, okay? Hard to see them right now because the sun's hitting that, but they'd cleaned up all that feed. We'll move up the line so we can see a feeder. And so we've refilled their feeder. We're feeding out of a 50-pound bag. We have an entire pallet of feed bags right there. So there's 20. We figure on 20 50-pound bags to 100 birds. There's 126 in this flock. So we have another flock the same size right after them. So that pallet of 40 bags will last us both of those first flocks of the year, okay? And the flocks will be in production each for 5 or 6 weeks apiece. So that pallet will be feeding out of that pallet for about 12 weeks. We put a bag at a time in this feed can and feed out of it. We had one bust on the side when we were unloading it. So this is what they're eating. It's a 22% protein crumble. So it's a complete feed. 22% refers to the protein value. It's called a meat bird start to finish. It is by Kalmbach. Y'all know we don't get anything for saying that. We just like to tell you what we feed. A lot of opinions on feed. We feed this because we're feeding a quantity of birds that we want to know we're going to be able to get a consistent feed for start to finish. And we want to keep them on the same thing throughout production. So we stick with the same feed all the time.